It began quietly, without fanfare, like so many revolutions in science do. A few isolated observations, a few confused astronomers, a few lines of code that refused to balance. Deep within the data streams from the Lowell Observatory, the James Webb Space Telescope, and NASA's Solar Dynamics mission, a single anomaly began to pulse like static through an otherwise calm sky. The object known as 3 Atlas, our third confirmed visitor from interstellar space, was behaving in a way that nothing in physics could justify. Its path was off by fractions of an arcsecond, tiny shifts invisible to the human eye but unmistakable to the precision instruments watching it. The numbers didn't lie. They whispered of a force, invisible, immense, and deliberate, acting upon a body that by every law of nature should have been slowing down. But 3II Atlas wasn't slowing down. It was accelerating. And not by a little. By an amount so impossible that it left seasoned astronomers staring at their monitors in silence, realizing that they were watching something no human had ever seen before. At first, there were whispers of comparison. Another interstellar visitor had done this once before. Oumuamua back in 2017, the strange flat tumbling relic that broke free of gravitational prediction and sailed off into the dark, gaining speed without explanation. But where Oumuamua's acceleration had been subtle, mysterious, and fleeting, 3I Atlas's was something far bolder. Its surge was measured, sustained, undeniable, an eruption of motion from a body tens of billions of tons in mass, defying drag, defying thermodynamics, defying sense itself. It was as if the cosmos had decided to replay a familiar mystery, but this time to turn the volume all the way up. For half a year, 3 Atlas had played by the rules. It coasted through the solar system like any other comet, dim, cold, and predictable. Its orbit was modeled perfectly by Newton's equations, its light curve gentle, its composition consistent with expectations. Water, ice, trace metals, carbon dioxide, the usual cosmic recipe. There was no reason to believe it was anything special, but as it reached its perihelion the moment it brushed closest to the sun, that calm obedience fractured. In a single 24-hour window, telescopes detected a measurable continuous acceleration of 0.02 s2. That sounds laughably small until you consider its scale. Over hours, over days, across an object weighing 33 billion tons, that shift became monstrous. To produce that movement through ordinary cometary activity, 3 Atlas would have had to eject billions of tons of gas and dust in one catastrophic burst, a detonation brighter than any nova. Yet there was no explosion, no debris, no plume of gas glowing behind it. The surrounding vacuum remained pristine. It was as though something inside the object had ignited silently, something controlled, smooth, and efficient. Astronomers crunched the numbers in disbelief. The thrust required to cause such acceleration would equal 660 million newtons, the output of 9 SpaceX starships firing their engines simultaneously, yet sustained across the cold emptiness of space where nothing burns, nothing moves, and nothing survives without a reason. Nature doesn't do precision, but 3 Atlas was precise. Every second, its vector adjusted in ways that mimicked trajectory correction, the kind of subtle steering one sees from spacecraft, not comets. In mission control rooms and university offices, scientists stopped talking and started staring, realizing that their equations were describing an impossible truth. The object wasn't just being pushed, it was being piloted. The world had seen this story before, or at least a quieter version of it. In 2017, the mysterious Oumuamua swept through the inner solar system, spinning like a sheet of metal, reflecting sunlight strangely and leaving no tail behind. It too accelerated slightly without any visible outgassing, sparking theories of light sails and alien technology. But 3 Atlas was no fragile shard gliding gently through space. It was a fortress, hundreds of meters wide, heavy beyond comprehension, dense enough to absorb cosmic rays for billions of years without disintegrating. For something so massive to accelerate faster than Oumuamua should have been impossible. It's like comparing a leaf caught in the wind to a mountain that suddenly decides to move. And yet that's what happened. The instruments at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory confirmed it. 3 Atlas's non-gravitational acceleration was not random, nor did it vary with sunlight exposure. It was consistent. No comet behaves that way. When ice vents beneath the surface, jets fire in chaotic directions, spinning the nucleus and sending it tumbling unpredictably. But Atlas's motion was graceful, its rotation unchanged, its trajectory smooth. Even as its speed increased, it maintained the same alignment relative to the Sun, as if the force propelling it was not erupting from its surface, but emanating from within. It was no longer obeying physics. It was writing new ones. And for the first time, the world of astronomy faced a thought too big to ignore. What if both 3I Atlas and Oumuamua weren't accidents? What if they were connected? To explain away the impossible, scientists reached for the familiar. They proposed outgassing, volatile ices sublimating into vapor, pushing the comet forward like a cosmic steam engine. But when they calculated the required outflow, the numbers collapsed under their own weight. To generate 660 million newtons of thrust, Atlas would have to eject a tenth of its mass in hours, leaving behind a colossal glowing tail visible from Earth. Yet every telescope aimed at it saw nothing. Even the James Webb, tuned to detect thermal emissions and infrared heat, found no signature of gas, no water, no dust, no plume. The void around 3I Atlas remained clean. The conclusion was inescapable. This was not heat-driven motion. It was directed propulsion. And then came the spectrum. When analyzed, the light from the object burned blue, not white or red as typical comets do. Blue light means higher energy, far higher than solar reflection could account for. It wasn't sunlight bouncing off ice. It was radiation emerging from within. Something was generating power, and not through chemical reaction. The temperature, luminosity, and emission lines didn't match any known process of natural sublimation. It was as though the object had switched on. Like a silent engine reigniting after a long sleep, Atlas flared, accelerated, and then stabilized, a perfect controlled burst of motion. When Dr. Avi Loeb reviewed the figures, his conclusion was blunt. The energy required here exceeds any natural explanation. In his models, sunlight pressure alone could not account for the readings unless the object was an ultra-thin structure, a light sail, much like Oumuamua was theorized to be. But Atlas was not thin. It was dense, massive, ancient. If radiation pressure couldn't do it and outgassing wasn't visible, only one scenario remained: propulsion by design. Loeb suggested that if the acceleration was internal, the power source would have to exceed our chemical capabilities by several orders of magnitude, operating in near-perfect silence and without exhaust. A nuclear drive, perhaps. Or something beyond our understanding of matter-antimatter interaction. Whatever it was, it implied intent. Nature does not build engines. Someone does. But who and why now? The timing was suspiciously poetic. Perhaps it's a design so ancient that it's become indistinguishable from it. Technology buried under eons of cosmic dust, drifting silently from star to star until we were ready to see it. The acceleration continues. The blue light flickers. The polarization curve remains perfect. Every clue points toward an intelligence that either built this or once used it, a silent monument to something greater than our understanding. And as it slips farther from the sun, its trajectory bending toward the interstellar dark, one can't help but wonder, is it leaving, or is it returning to where it came from? Because if this was a coincidence, it's the most extraordinary one in the history of the cosmos. And if it wasn't, If 3 Atlas truly is a construct, a vessel, or even a probe, then the implications are beyond imagination. It would mean that somewhere out there, long before our species could dream of flight, someone else had already mastered the stars. They watched them burn. They watched them die. And then they left behind fragments like this one, silent witnesses to civilizations that once were. And now, as our telescopes finally touch their light, it feels less like discovery and more like recognition. Maybe 3 Atlas is proof that we've never really been alone. Maybe it's proof that the universe itself is alive, vast, ancient, and aware of us. Maybe it's something simpler still. A whisper from time reminding us that intelligence doesn't vanish. It endures, it travels, it observes, it waits. So, as you hear these words, remember, every beam of light crossing the black carries information. And somewhere in that endless sea, this object still glows, moving faster than any comet ever should. Maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's intention, but either way the sky has changed, and we will never look at it the same way again. If this story made you question what's really out there, don't let it fade into silence. Subscribe to this channel because we'll keep following every new anomaly the universe reveals. Turn on notifications. The next object could already be on its way. And tell us in the comments, is 3i Atlas a natural wanderer, or the first machine humanity has ever witnessed from another civilization?